The Deep Web, otherwise known as the Dark Web or Hidden Web, it's a hidden part of the internet which can only be accessed by certain programs such as Tor. On the Deep Web, there are websites that contain secret government documents, websites that sell drugs and weapons, and other horrific and gory websites I won't even mention. You, the viewers, have sent in your horror stories of what you have found while browsing the Deep Web. Remember to continue sending your stories, whether they are paranormal or real, to whyme2k15@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter and send us your topic ideas there. Number 5. Xsquared. This story was submitted by Dean. I started using the Deep Web just out of curiosity. I was told it was a paradise for drugs, weapons, hidden documents, etc. While on a site called the Hidden Wiki, I found several links to drug marketplaces, weapon marketplaces, and several hire a hitman sites. There was also some really messed up sites. I found one which was dedicated to animal cruelty. My brother questioned me about the Deep Web as he wanted to access it but didn't know how to. I didn't tell him that I had been on it and that I knew how to access it. He then told me that he had read about a disturbing site that supposedly existed. He didn't tell me much about it, but it involved abduction and medical testing. After learning about the site, I decided to try to find it just to see if it was real. After a few hours of searching, I came across a site simply called Xsquared. I'm not sure if it still exists, but what I saw on it still haunts me today. The homepage had a brief description of what they do. It explained that the website was set up by a group of medical students. They abduct people, mainly homeless people, and perform experiments on them. All the experiments were recorded and noted in great detail on the site. They had starvation tests, pain tolerance tests, disease testings, etc. I decided to read one of the experiments conducted. It was called abortion test. It went along the lines of this. Day 1, bleach put inside womb, fetus still alive. Day 3, more bleach added. This continued. It would document the amount of bleach added and all the side effects. This was until it reached day 7. It stated the amount of bleach added, then said abortion successful. There was more experiments which included trying to change the structure of DNA and creating superhumans with a combination of chemicals by trying to make them immune. The experiments done reminded me of the disturbing ones conducted at Nazi concentration camps during the Holocaust. Along with the notes were several videos. It was noted if they were conducted in warehouse 1, 2, or 3. I'm unsure to where the tests were being conducted, but in the videos, I could make out that the victims were speaking English. This was between all the screams and faint pleads for help. I hope the people behind the site have been caught. I'm not sure if the site still exists, and frankly, I don't want to know. Number 4. Be safe. This story was submitted by Philip. This happened to me 1 month ago. I'm 15 years old and live in Israel. After watching several videos about the Deep Web, I became interested and wanted to access it to see what was on it. I watched a few tutorials, then downloaded Tor and managed to access it. I then joined a Skype group which provided me with several different links. Once on, I browsed many sites. This is when I came across a random site. There wasn't much to the site, just a black background, 2 boxes, and a chat box. It was a live stream chat site like Chat Roulette, except there wasn't a skip button. My webcam then turned on and I appeared in one of the boxes and could see myself. The other box was still black. After waiting for a few minutes, I decided the website must be broken, so I said F this, then was about to close the website when a voice said, "Don't use that kind of language, Philip," and also include my last name. This scared me so much that I closed the site, then uninstalled Tor and turned off my PC. When I returned later on, I was greeted with a notepad file on my desktop titled "Hello Philip." I opened it and this is what it said. It listed my full name, address, coordinates, my parents' name and my younger sister's name. It then said, "Be safe, we will be waiting." The note freaked me out. I deleted it and tried not to think about it. A week later, when I was trying to get to sleep, I heard something smash downstairs. I went and checked it out and saw a large man standing there holding a knife. I started to scream and ran back upstairs and then told my dad. He went and investigated and then called the police. They arrived, but nobody was found. I told them about my experience on the Deep Web. They recommended that we leave the house for a week. After we returned, we installed cameras and no one ever returned. Whether the intruder was of the same person from the deep web is unknown. It may have just have been a coincidence, but may have not. Number 3. Amelioration. This story was submitted by Wilfred. I was on the deep web about 2 years ago and this memory has stuck with me ever since. I came across the usual drugs, porn, weapons. My friend had recommended a site which had great shock value and was quite disturbing. He sent me the link over Skype, so I then opened it. The website was called Amelioration. It was very dark and there were several mannequins in the background. I was presented by photos of limbs. They each had measurements next to them and a color selection. They each had a Bitcoin number next to them ranging from 5 to 15 Bitcoins. Below this was a description. It sounded like a cheesy sales pitch, but it went like this. Are you fed up with your imperfections? Maybe you want longer arms or a different face. Or maybe you want to change your skin color. After this, it went to describe that at a price, surgeons will remove your limbs and add new ones. It was all quite secretive and cryptic, but there was some contact information. I'm guessing that once contacted, the person has to meet with them for their operation. This got me thinking, could this actually be real? Do people actually want different limbs? Where are they getting the new limbs from? I'd heard of body integrity identity disorder, in which people feel like their limbs don't belong to them, so it could be real. Then I was thinking, maybe whoever is behind the site is just a serial killer, and the pictures of limbs are of their victims, and that they lure their victims in through the website. I'm not sure if the site still exists, and I haven't returned to the deep web, but I will always remember the site. Number 2. Fake weed. The person who submitted this wishes to remain anonymous. I'm writing into you just so I can warn your fanbase about buying from the deep web. This all innocently started by teens wanting to buy some weed. Me and a friend wanted to buy some weed and smoke it at his parents' house as they were going away for the weekend. We planned it about a month prior, and since I knew about the deep web, I told my friend about it and left it up to him to buy the weed. It was successful and came discreetly packaged. I went to my friend's house and we checked it out. Whatever he ordered, I'm pretty sure it wasn't weed. I had seen weed before and this wasn't it. This stuff was very dark in colour and smelt quite like chemicals. I told my friend that I was certain that it wasn't weed, and he was arrogant and said that since he spent money on it, he is still gonna smoke it. I bailed since it didn't seem right, and he smoked it all to himself. He rolled up about 4 joints of the stuff and smoked them in rather quick succession. After this, he started acting rather strange. At first, he would just lay down in his bed with his pillows over his ears. He was claiming he could hear them. Then, he got really paranoid and would go crazy at any sound that he heard, such as cars passing by. I just thought he had got way too high. I saw him through it, then went home. The next few days he didn't seem right. He didn't seem like his usual self. Then, one day when we were heading to school, he brings out a joint and tells me it's the same stuff as last time and he purchased it from the same site. He then started smoking it. This continued for about a month. His behaviour became rather alarming and he didn't seem fully there in his mind. He started talking to me about God and the afterlife, and he had never been religious before. He would quote the Bible to me and sometimes just speak nonsense. One day, he didn't turn up for school. Later on, I'd found out that he stabbed his father to death, then killed himself. There were some pretty gruesome details that spread relating to the crime scene. Now they could have just been rumours, but it was said that he wrote the word God in his father's blood all over the kitchen walls. I'm not sure to what he was smoking, but after it happened, several news stories sparked about murders committed while on legal highs, so I think it might have been a legal high. I wrote in just to warn people of the dangers of buying from the deep web. Number 1. iSpy.me. This story was submitted by Susan. I have been browsing the deep web for a while. I could handle all the gory things I saw on there, but this site I came across was so creepy that it made me stop using the deep web. When I first started using it, I came across the regular drugs and guns. Then as I went deeper, it started to get dark. There were sites which were dedicated to cannibals and had chat rooms. There were also many gory sites. One site I came across was called iSpy.me. There was no description on it. It was live streams from inside people's homes. The creepy thing was, it seemed like the residents didn't know the cameras were there. The website had filters by countries, and there were countless live streams from all around the world. There were cameras everywhere in people's homes. The toilet, bedroom, kitchen, you name it. I checked out one of the streams and it just showed a person walking around their house, but it seemed like they didn't know the cameras were there. This got me thinking, who is behind the site? Clearly if the cameras were planted by someone, then there had to be a group behind this since there were streams from all different countries. Now the people could have just been streaming themselves, but then why would this be on the deep web? The site made me stop using the deep web and made me quite paranoid. I recommend people checking around their homes for cameras. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to keep submitting your stories to whyme2k15@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at Top5Unknowns and also on Facebook. Goodbye.